are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to our webinar today, and today's topic is how do you unlock your team's potential? And it was interesting, my organization had a strategic planning meeting recently, and I try to come up for a theme for the year for my own business and for the training that I'm going to do in the coming year. And based on everything that I heard last year, I did 30 conventions last year. I created 12 courses for LinkedIn Learning, and I think most of you know that I'm speaking not only to the staffing and recruiting profession, but I'm also speaking to your hiring authorities. So I get in front of the CEO conference, I get in front of manufacturing groups, I go to IT conferences because I'm trying to get in front of the people that utilize our services. I'm also doing calls for job seekers once a week, and they don't know who I am. And so that's giving me great insight into what job seekers really think. And it's interesting because on many of the calls they're complaining about us. You know, they don't know I own a staffing and a recruiting firm. So it's been a fun experience for me because I've been able to teach them how to utilize us better and how to understand what it is that you and I do. You know, but that's why I wanted to write this program, because my theme for this year is how do I help unlock everyone's potential that I'm training, that comes in touch with me, that works for me. And I hope to do the same for all of you today, give you some basic, very specific steps that you can take that are going to unlock your team's potential. So let's start out with our program. Okay, never forget that you're in business to generate profits, create the lifestyle that you deserve, and you're not in business to provide jobs for the people that you employ. I talk to owners and managers every single day. I do consulting for a lot of firms, and it's interesting because most owners that come to me for consulting, they come because they're in trouble. They come because their business is not, producing the profits they wanted. And almost always it's due to the fact that they've got part of their team that's producing, and they've got the other part of their team that is draining the bottom line, is not making money. And as a business owner, as a manager, you've got to realize that if your salespeople are not generating profits, their desk is either a profit or a loss center. And you and I both know you can't afford to have people working for you that are not making you money unless you want to install an awning over their desk and declare them nonprofit, which I don't think any of us want to do. We want to help our salespeople become the best they can become, which of course helps our business, but also helps them individually. After all these years of training, I've realized that there's 3 keys for success. And I do a lot of in-house training for many successful firms. And again, that's given me great insight into what are the 3 keys for the most successful firms out there. And this is in any and every niche. What the 3 keys are is you have to have an inspired, motivated sales team, which isn't easy. When you think about the amount of rejection, frustrations, and just objections they get on a daily basis, you can't motivate your team. And I see so many owners and managers trying to motivate other people. The best you can do is create a motivated environment, give them the training and the tools they need, but that motivation has to come from within. And we're going to discuss how you can ignite that motivation, but you really can't motivate another person. The second key for all these successful firms is that the owner knows how to leverage their time and knowledge. It's interesting. When I do consulting, the first thing I have an owner do is a time study. And I have them write down everything they're doing. And then I have them take the list and number it, number 1 through 30, 1 through 25, however many tasks they're doing. And the first piece of advice I give an owner is delegate the bottom 10 things on your list. You have got to leverage your time and your knowledge. Every day ask yourself as an owner or manager, what is this best use of my time? Is this best use of my time? It's not your job to be a fireman, a babysitter. It's your job to grow your business. And so that is the second element for success. The last one is consistent, repetitive, comprehensive systems and training. If you don't have systems, there's no way for you to really gauge what your company is going to do this year. And your systems have to be repeatable because, again, if something's not working, how do you know where to make changes if you don't have a specific system in place? You can't have your team shooting from the hip. You can't have people with 10 years working their desk differently than the new people coming in. Now, obviously, the new people coming in are going to make many more calls than your experienced people because they know who to call and how to call, but they've all got to be following the same consistent, repetitive systems. If you ever intend to sell your business someday, the value of your business, a lot is based also on repetitive systems, and do you have comprehensive training in place? Now let's talk about the next thing. I want you to ask yourself some questions because your answers to the questions I'm going to ask you right now are going to uncover where each of you need your attention because it might be different from each one of you. We've got a very large group of people on this call. And so I want you to answer these questions because this will show you where you need to put your attention if in fact you really do want to have a record year this year and if you do want to unlock your team's potential and the potential of your company, and your own. So the first question is, if your business had a tremendous influx of orders, and that's happening to everybody right now, is all of a sudden there's so many orders and there's just not enough candidates to cover the orders. But if you had a major company come to you and give you 150 openings, could you hire 5 people without it having a negative impact on your business? And be honest about this. If you hired 5 people, what happens to your time? Are you all of a sudden now the person in charge of training these people, or are you going to take somebody out of production and have them train somebody? Could you really add on 5 people without it negatively impacting your bottom line? Question number 2, what if something happened to you? Would your business continue to flourish and generate profits? You don't have a business if it doesn't run when you're not there. Now, you all know that I travel quite a bit because I'm training and speaking. But when I'm traveling, people that call my office, they don't know I'm not here because my business is run by other people that I trust. But if something happened to you, even if you're a sole proprietor, have you built some teams around you, some people around you where things would still continue moving forward? You can't be your business. Your sales should not be, your sales should not represent more than 30% of the total revenue of your company. At least 70% should come from your sales team, or you can't sell your business. The third question is, can you jumpstart and easily integrate your new hires? When you hire somebody new, do you know how to get them up and running quickly? Do you know what to have them do to make them profitable for you to get the quickest return on your investment? Or are they into you, 5, 6, 7 months before they're actually producing, and can you afford to do that? When people say, I can't afford to hire, I'm saying you're hiring salespeople, they should pay for themselves. If you jumpstart them, they should pay for themselves pretty quickly. But can you right now jumpstart and integrate your new hires, especially if you have a tenured team? And does your team consistently surpass goals set? You've got to consistently either hit or surpass goals. And so those are the questions I want you to ask because it's your answers to those questions that really are going to teach you, where you have to put your attention. So how do you unlock the potential of your team and your business? I'm going to give you some specific steps right now. Step 1 is this has to be the year where you start managing by numbers, not emotion. You've got to know everybody's individual stats and ratios. You've got to know what results are needed daily. When you don't have production or when somebody is flat on your team, unfortunately, the answer from most owners and managers is make more calls. You've got to make more calls. Well, if they're not making good calls, if they're making ridiculous calls, and you tell them to make more of those same calls, what are the results going to be? Nothing, because they don't know how to make the calls. And so you've got to know what results they need daily. Okay, for instance, say that I want to make a placement a week, and I know my numbers, so I know I have to book 5 send-outs to make a placement. I get 5 people on first interviews before I get a fill. And so I know that I have to book 5 send-outs a week if I'm going to close a deal a week. Now, in order to get a send-out, I know I have to interview 3 people. My numbers are, if I interview 3 people, I get a send-out. I'm just telling you, those are my stats. I'm using this as an example. So if I've got to interview 3 people a day, I know that I have to book 5. Now, you might say, you just said 3. Well, if I wanted to really complete 3 interviews a day, I have to book 5 because someone's going to no-show, someone's going to cancel, something's going to happen. And, God forbid I do 5 interviews that day. Now I give myself a little bit of a cushion, don't I? Because I know by Friday afternoon I have to interview 15 people if I'm going to book 5 send-outs and I'm going to make a placement a week. These are the type of stats you've got to know for every single person working for you. And you've got to tie the goals into what's in it for your team. I used to get in front of my people and go, we're going to have a record year. This is going to be awesome. And I would see eyes rolling, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh my God, why are eyes rolling? I'd be rolling out bonuses and incentives and contests, and I'm all excited at the front of the room until I see people rolling their eyes. And then my managers would say, but Barb, they're happy. They're making great money. They're wondering what you're going to do to them. See, they didn't see what I was doing for them. They weren't tying it into what they're trying to accomplish for not only themselves, but the people they love. And by the way, When you have contests, keep them simple. You know, I have owners come to me all the time. Oh my God, I put $20,000 out there in contests and nobody earned it. And I said, tell me about the contest. And when they were trying to explain their contest to me, they didn't even know the details. It was way too long, way too confusing, you know, and we're salespeople. We are not going to even strive for a contest if it's got too much detail. We're not going to do it. Or if the same people always win. If you've got contests in your office and your top producers always win, and everybody else knows they're going to win, that demotivates the rest of your team. So maybe you have contests, you know, based on years of experience or based on their average production. If they increase it by, you know, whatever percentage, or anybody that does a certain thing wins. You want to encourage winning. You don't want your people to feel like losers. You know, a contest is supposed to motivate. So maybe you come up with simple contests for different levels of the people that work for you to motivate everybody. Step number 2 is set minimum standards of performance. This is the one thing I hear from owners at conferences more than anything else. My people are not working up to their potential. And then when I talk to your team, they go, we have no clue what she wants. We have no clue what he wants. All he does is say that he wants more, but what does he mean by more? I remember when I was in school and I went to Catholic education, and the nuns would tell my parents, she's not working up to her potential. And I would look at my parents going, okay, I get straight A's. So what are they talking about? And I remember once in a parents-teachers conference, I confronted one of the nuns and said, well, tell me what my potential is and I'll do it. And she kind of glared at me, and my dad goes, you know what, she's right. What is she not doing that you expect? And there was crickets. There was no answer. You know, and you never want that to be the feeling of your people. You know, you never want them not to know what you expect, because truthfully, if you give minimum standards of performance, you're showing your people you care. You've got to provide standards during your hiring process and then review them at the beginning of each year with your entire team. These are your top producers right down to your newest hires. And you've got to set specific daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly standards. And that's the results they need to achieve the goals that they want to set. Right now, you should know what everybody wants to earn that works for you. Anybody in sales, what would they want to earn this year? And then you take what they want to earn and you show them what they have to do to earn it. Because only then are they going to do better this year than they did last year. We're all set on automatic pilot. When you woke up this morning, you had a routine at home. You probably took the same commute to work. The problem is when you walked in the office, all of you have a routine. And in order to get different results, you've got to break your routine, and you've got to break the routine of the people that work for you. If they do things the same way, you're going to have the same sales this year that you did last year. You want more, things have to change. And the way you show people you care is you hold them accountable. It's no different than a parent. You know, if a parent never said anything to their kids and just let them run wild, the kid may love it for a while, but it's parents that love their kids that hold them accountable, you know, and make them do certain things. And in a way, we owe that to the people that work for us. They've got to know what you expect. But again, when you're setting minimum standards of performance, the way you roll this out is, this is what you told me you want to accomplish. This is what you're going to have to do in order to get there. Show them that you're the person that's not going to let them not achieve their goals this year. You're going to do everything you can to back them, to show them exactly what they need to achieve what they want for themselves and the people they love. And remember, most recruiters are social workers who like money, but that social worker part can come out and they start doing things that are not making you money, and that can wipe out their ability to hit their goals. And so you've got to watch for that, because that's who we hire. That's why people in our profession are overall very nice people. You know, I don't meet many people in our profession that I don't truly like, because we're all sort of the same person. Step number 3 is you've got to leverage your time. Now, I have people ask me all the time, Barb, would you do a program on time management? How can we manage time? You can't manage time. We all have the same 168 hours a week. You and I both have the same amount of time. People ask me all the time, how do you get so much done? How do you get so much done? You're everywhere. I'll be at a conference and people are getting emails from me. Or I'll be at a conference and all of a sudden somebody goes, wait a minute, Barb, I've got a webinar you're doing. Because I've automated so much. I believe in autoresponders. I believe in automating as much as we possibly can. I also know the 20% of what I do that gives me 80% of my results. And you have to know that too. You know, maybe each one of you needs to do a time study. Write down everything you do this month and then number them 1 through whatever. And those top items are best use of your time. You've got to create and implement consistent systems. You cannot let your people shoot from the hip. How do you hire? How can you hire and bring somebody on board if they have no process to follow? I'm doing some consulting for a woman right now, and I asked her yesterday, do you have job descriptions? And she said no. And I said, okay, you just lost some people on your team. Did they know what you expected? Do you have minimum standards in place? Well, no. But I know a person that I'm going to create a job around because I really think she'd be a good addition to my team. And I said, does she have sales experience? Well, no, but I think she'd be good eventually maybe selling. No, that's not what we can do. You need job descriptions. You need minimum standards. You need to put specific expectations. You need to hire people with sales experience who want to sell. Quit calling this job consulting and everything else, because people think what we do is HR and what we do is sell. Even HR departments, even talent acquisition people in recruiting are salespeople. And you've got to anticipate trends. Things are happening so fast. It's just incredible. And if you miss a little bend in the road, you can be out of business. You've got to anticipate trends. I think that's more important now than it's ever been, because as the leader, as the owner, you've got to embrace change first. Your people will follow you if you go, oh my God, can you believe this? Or say that you only do direct placement and you keep hearing about contract staffing. Do you know that 50% of the workforce are going to be flexible staffing by the year 2020? That's in 2 years. If you don't do temp or contract, you're not going to represent 50% of the people that are in the workforce. And this has been a trend that has been coming for years, but all of a sudden now we're 2 years away from the first time in history having contract and temp, workers represent the majority of the workforce. I mean, that's incredible. Another thing that I love, the trend that I love, is job dissatisfaction. Now, I was at a talent acquisition conference, it must be 6 months ago, and they were talking about how job satisfaction is at 18%. And the HR people and the talent acquisition people in the audience were just gasping like, oh my God, how do we get this better? How do we get employees engaged? But that number is great for you and me. You know what that number means? That 8 out of 10 people would make a change if given the right opportunity. So when your recruiters tell you it's so hard to find people, you've got to thank God it is, because if it was easy, you wouldn't have as many orders as you do. Plus, if they weren't so dependent on job boards and doing things the same way, if they went out there and talked to people that are working, 8 out of 10 of them are miserable and would make a change. So again, how do you show your people how it benefits them to go out there and start talking to people that are working? Because 8 out of 10 people would make a move. And those are the people your clients want to hire, by the way. Step 4 is you've got to offer consistent, repeatable training because things are changing. And when is the last time you revamped your training program? Even if you have a training program in-house, how often do you update it? How often do you put new information? I add to my training program weekly because I know how fast things are changing. Do you know that when I do webinars for my training clients, I only pick topics 30 days in advance because I never know what's going on, and I want to make sure that they've got the latest, greatest information. You've got to rotate core materials. And the things that you believe in, like in my mind, our job is to book send-outs. Everybody's job, you have a great day if you get somebody in front of a hiring authority first interview. So those same concepts like that, the same basics, you've got to reiterate over and over again. You've got to follow standardized procedures, repeatable processes, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that they're retaining what you've taught them. I was told by the National Speakers Bureau that when I speak, that the audience is going to retain 5% of what I say. And I hated that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm out there. I'm away from my family. I'm traveling, which I don't necessarily love to do. And I've got to fix this. And so 10 years ago, I started giving accountability partners when I'm out there training. And the reason I do that is then I guarantee that everybody implements 3 ideas, or the majority of them will implement 3 ideas. Just like you coming here today, you showing up for my call today, this is step 1. But what are you going to do at the end of this call? I'm going to give you a couple calls to action. Are you going to do them? Or are you going to say, well, this was a great call, but are you going to take something and implement it? Or are you going to take action? See, wanting to unlock everybody's potential is one thing. Actually doing something to make it happen is that's a total different ballgame, isn't it? Everybody wants more, but are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to put what you have to do and make the changes necessary to really make it happen? It's not enough to just want it. Everybody wants more. Everybody wants to win the lottery. We don't need to win the lottery. We're in sales. You are your own lottery, and so are your people. They write their own paychecks. Step number 5 is you've got to identify mentors, coaches, and accountability partners. I have a mentor or coach almost all the time. And the reason I do that is I want to learn from others. I have somebody in my office right now listening to this call. And the reason I have somebody in my office listening to this call is I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Because this call is so important to me because so many of you are on this line and I know the difference this can make in your lives and in your businesses. But I don't want to miss anything. So I'm that person that is always looking to improve. I've always got an accountability partner. I always participate in mastermind groups. You know, the reason we do that is because you can get very consumed in just who you are and what you do. And this becomes your little kingdom. But too many owners build something, and then because they don't change and they don't stay ahead of trends, they destroy what they built. You've got to think bigger. Set up your financial thermostat. What would happen to your life if your annual income became your monthly income? Because as a business owner, you can do that, and so could the people that work for you. I put that challenge out at a Tech Serve Alliance conference about 15 years ago, and I had 4 people in the audience say, "Is that possible, Barb?" And I said, "It sure is, but it's not something you can do overnight. It'll take you 4 or 5 years to get there. But imagine, how would your life change? How would the lives of the people that you employ change if, in fact, their annual salary became their monthly salary?" Money has the biggest impact on your life next to good health. I have a husband who's had 43 surgeries, and I know for a fact my husband is either doing great or he's critically ill, and so I understand the value of good health. But I also saw the value of money when I was doing a tour of Houston around the hurricane. And it was interesting because people that had money were at the Hyatt, and people that didn't have money were on the street, or they were living in their cars because they didn't have choices. See, money gives you choices. As an owner, as a manager, as the people that work for you, if you help them unlock their potential, they have more choices. And so, you're that social worker too who wants to make money. You really want to have an impact on the people's lives that you supervise and that work for you. And the way to do that is to follow these steps. And you've got to set your financial thermostat up so they can set their financial thermostats up. You're the leader. Now, one of the things I've done this year that have been the most exciting for me is I'm doing training for LinkedIn. LinkedIn sent agents to all the employment conferences to pick a speaker. And I was honored when they chose me over all the other speakers out there to develop some courses for them. And they wanted me to develop one course. And you're going to love this. The course they asked me to develop was Recruiting Fundamentals. And they wanted me to basically create a course that would train in-house recruiters and staffing and recruiting firm recruiters on recruiting. So I went back to LinkedIn and said, we do things totally differently. In-house recruiters do it differently than we do. It's impossible to write that course. And they go, but that's the course we want, Barbara. Are you telling us you can't do it? Well, of course I'm going to do it. And I said, no, I can do it, but it's, I prefer to do 2 courses. And they go, no, we just want you to do 1 course for us. We want to put a recruiting course, in our curriculum. And I said, okay. So I did the course. And it was very difficult to do, as you can imagine, because we do things differently. So I did the 1 course, and all of a sudden the course took off, and they had 50,000 people take the course in the first 60 days. And so they asked me to do 2 more courses. And I thought, this is awesome. I just did 3 courses for LinkedIn Learning. Well, the bottom line is, and this is something I'm extremely proud of, is LinkedIn Learning has had me do 12 courses. And they're all on recruiting, or they're all on different aspects of recruiting. Some of them are more, how do you negotiate a compensation package, compensation and benefits. But there were 2 courses I really wanted to do for LinkedIn that they said no. The 2 courses I wanted to do was how do you work with a recruiter and how do you pick a recruiting firm? How do you know who to work with? Because, they have these big enterprise clients. And I find, that's why I'm speaking in front of corporate audiences. They don't understand us. They have this very bad view of us. They use us as the last resource sometimes. So I'm out there trying to convince them why they should call us first. So LinkedIn, the last 2 courses they let me do, course number 11 and course number 12, were how do you work with a recruiter and how do you select a recruiting firm. And I am thrilled because as of last month, 600,000 people have taken my 12 courses. Not all 12, but they've taken, part of those courses. That makes me very happy because I'm out there teaching other people how to work with us, teaching other people how to do this job better. I think there's a responsible way to do what you and I do, and there's an irresponsible way. Now, according to LinkedIn Learning, one great thing is I've got access to all of LinkedIn's data. They share everything with me. I can ask them any questions that I want. And they've proved to me, they've showed me black and white proof that the firms that have training have improved performance. The training improves retention and it improves employee engagement. Training also positively impacts profits, not only for your profession and my profession, but for their enterprise clients. Everybody is putting a big premium on training, and isn't it sad that every corporation out there, every one of our clients has a budget item on their P&L statement called training. They have a line item. They budget money for training every year. And you know what? That's not something that you and I necessarily do, is it? You know, we think, well, we'll handle the training. I remember years ago, I wouldn't hire in spring or fall because I trained in spring and fall. I only did conventions in spring and fall, so I couldn't bring a new hire on because I was the one that trained them, so I could only hire in the summer. Now, how stupid was that? I could have a great person cross my desk and I wouldn't hire them because I couldn't train them because I was traveling. And so, you know, according to LinkedIn Learning and big data, you know, training improves all of these things, you know, which I love having their statistics. But also, you and I both know people do things for their own reasons, not yours, not mine. Employees are not inspired to work harder for your company to hit goals. If you got in front of your team early this year and said, we're going to have a record year, I guarantee you if their eyes weren't rolling, they were thinking things inside like, oh my God, what is he going to do to me? Oh my God, what is she going to do to me? But if you get them to write down what are your 10 goals for this year, what are you trying to do for yourself and the people you love, and you tie in their goals to what they're trying to achieve for themselves and the people they love, now they're motivated. You don't have to motivate a person that's trying to send a kid to college. You don't have to motivate someone trying to buy a new house. I had my best years when 3 of my young recruiters, they were all in their mid-20s, wanted to get a condo in downtown Chicago. I loved that the 3 of them wanted to get a condo. I loved that then they started to compete with who was going to get it first. I even gave them a half a day off to go look at condos and pick what building they wanted to get one in. I can tell you, my company has trained over 3,000 recruiters. And I can tell you, you know, we've got data as well. And 100% of our tutor clients have increased sales and profits. I became a trainer not because I love to train and not because I love to travel. I don't like leaving my family. I don't necessarily love the flights or love the nonsense at the airports anymore. But I know if people implement what I train, I know that I can make a difference, you know, in their life. I know that I can help you be more successful and help your people make more money. And truthfully, that's what motivates me. People say, why are you still out there, Barbara? Because I get feedback. People call me constantly. I get back from conferences, and I can't believe the notes and the letters and the messages and the thank yous that I get from people who have implemented ideas. That's why I'm talking to you today, because I have over 30 years of experience, and I can share it with you. And now I've got LinkedIn's data. I've got data from all the talent acquisition people and hiring authorities, and I'm talking to job seekers weekly. So I'm coming to you from different viewpoints, trying to help all of you. Now, I'm going to share some more tips for you to unlock your team's potential, but I want to give you just some feedback from a few of my training clients, okay? My training clients have shared that they can easily add to their current team, that their business would flourish if something happened to them, and this is the first time in years they can honestly say that they can take a month off, they can go on vacations, they can go down south for the winter and leave their business and it still works. They have repeatable systems. Their sales and profits continually increase every month, and they know what KPIs to track to avoid slumps. You know, it depends on what KPIs are important to you. Key performance indicators are different depending if you're doing direct, if you're doing contract, if you've got a blended firm, and if you're tracking too many, you're shutting your sales team down. You can't ask for too many numbers because, quite frankly, your people aren't going to track them. And you know, and if you don't react to what you've asked them for, they're going to stop keeping them all together. If you don't have a consistent training program, your solution is my top producer tutor. This is something that it is my brain dump. It includes recruiting and sales best practices. There's an 80-day curriculum that takes 15 minutes a day. There's weekly live training webinars, like the webinar I'm doing for you right now. Imagine your people getting this type of webinar every week, and I do 30 minutes of training and 30 minutes of answering their questions. I also do bi-weekly live coaching calls where I get on the phone every other Monday and I go, hi, it's Barb Bruno. What questions do you have for me? And I have so many people after the call send me emails and going, oh my God, what was that? I didn't even understand the question. I didn't even know that existed, Barb. How did you know that? So not only do you learn from me, you learn from all these people asking me questions. And by the way, they're from all over the world. I sell my training program in 12 countries. This is what my tutor looks like. I'm going to just show you 4 real quick screenshots before I get back to additional training. This is what your recruiters would see every day. You know, the online support under my picture is we have instant messaging if they have a question. You know, whatever classes they sign up for, they just come to this, they click on their class, and they go right into the training. And look at the webinars I'm doing this month. Yesterday I did Accomplish More in 2008. On the 17th I'm doing How do you become a consultant versus a vendor. On the 24th, how do you recruit the best talent? Would you like your people to know additional sources or additional techniques to source more candidates? Look at the bottom right of the screen right now. I bring guest speakers in, and I brought someone I met at a conference, and he basically did a program on the 5th of December basically telling you how to source LinkedIn without a premium account. Can you imagine the value of that? Knowing how to source LinkedIn without, paying for a premium account that costs several $1,000s a year. The owner's homepage is a little bit more robust. You can see you've got more tabs because you can see more, you can do more. There's different levels in my training program, and this is something we can explain to you. The Top Producer Tutor offers a library with 200 recorded webinars by topic. Every Wednesday we record those calls and they're put in a library. Every day your people write down notes so that you know that they're learning things every day, and they're tested weekly and you can see their scores. And they can hear questions, again, that are being asked by people globally. This is a picture of our library, and it just shows you all the different icons. If somebody wants training in any one of these areas, they click on, and they've got at least 15 or 20 programs that they can listen to on these specific topics, in addition to the 80-day curriculum. This is a picture of just some of the forms. We have 30-some-odd forms that are included in the library. If you want to update your reference check form or your debrief forms or prep forms, they're all in the library, so you also get all my proprietary forms. And this is just an example of some of the webinars that are in our library. We have a topic called Sales and Increased Production. There's 50 programs on sales and increased production. As an owner, if somebody has a problem, you could go to the library and say, watch this and tell me what you've learned. So again, it literally takes training off your desk. Owners ask me all the time, how much time will this take? None. You could set this tutor up. You could have your tutor set up by tomorrow. It's as easy as processing a credit card. My team can get all your people in it. We do a kickoff for your team showing them how to use it. And the interesting thing is, if you want to know what people are doing, you've got this report. This shows you everybody that works for you, what classes they're in, and what they're scoring on their tests at a glance. So you could glance once a week just to see what your people are doing, to see if, in fact, they're succeeding at the training program. Our training helps you manage by numbers, not emotion, and it takes less than 15 minutes a day. The important thing is everybody will sell from the same playbook. And that's where I see most companies really lacking, is you don't have repeatable systems. What I'm really going to encourage you to do today is write down this number and call for a free demo. The demo takes 30 minutes, and it's not us showing you something. You're a salesperson. You're not going to watch something for 30 minutes. We basically give you a login and a password and let you click around. And so, if you trust me at all, if you trust what I do, and if you've trusted my training in the past, trust me enough to call for a free demo today, because it could be the key. This could be the number one most important step you do to really unlock the potential of everybody that works for you and your company as a whole. And so please write that number down. Now I want to give you some additional tips to increase sales. I promised you additional tips. Your team, again, must be working from the same playbook. You've got to create repeatable systems. If you've got my training or not, make everything a repeatable system. Set up your business like a franchise. The reason franchises work is, even when I was in South Africa and walked into McDonald's, it was identical to the McDonald's here. Each desk should be set up identically. If one of your recruiters got sick, I had this happen to an owner, where one of his recruiters got in a critical accident. He goes, oh my God, we don't know anything that he had going. Even when they were in the computer, they had an ATS system, but everything was all over the place, stacks of things everywhere. You can't have stacks. When I was at MRI once at their corporate office, I asked to talk to their biggest biller. And this is a guy that does over $2 million a year. And I said, can I just spend a little bit of time with him? And I always do that, by the way. When I go to conferences, I always meet with the biggest billers to see if there's anything out there that they're doing that I can teach you that's different than maybe something I know. The one thing that got to me was his desk was totally clear. There wasn't one piece of paper on his desk. He had 3 computer monitors. He had his ATS system on one computer monitor. He had, he was doing sourcing on another monitor, and the third one was tracking what he was doing. I mean, it was crazy. 3 monitors, not 1 sheet of paper. Prosperity is not drawn to disorganization. Maybe what you need to do is have all your people clean out their desks, inside, outside, around, behind, and it's funny. I tell people to do this at conferences, and owners call me. They go, "My God, Barb, we had a heart attack. Our people came back from your conference. They were all cleaning out their desk. We thought they were quitting." I said, "No, they're just getting organized." And by the way, don't ever give an original of anything to anybody. You know that. We're salespeople. If you give me a piece of paper, by the time I get to my office, I've lost it. I've laid it down. I've done something. So everybody that works for me knows never give Barbara an original of anything. And that's why these repeatable systems are so important. And also, you've got to role play. You've got to role play. You've got to look at your repeatable systems and revise. Make revisions. You can't say, well, this is working, but just because it's working, is it the best way of doing it? It might be giving you your results today, but what if you want to triple your results? Well, the systems you have in place today help you triple results, or do you need to revise them? If you want to increase sales, you've got to make training. I also want to give you 5 final tips to increase sales and profits. Number 1, you've got to clearly communicate your role to the people that work for you. What is your role? And if every time somebody comes to you with a question, they give you an answer, then you're their mom or you're their dad, or you've got everybody connected to you by an umbilical cord, and they're never going to get to be independent and successful if you always give people answers. What is your role? Do you have an open door policy? Because if you do, shut it, and shut it today. Open it early in the morning, open it at lunch, and open it at the end of the day. But during prime time hours, you've got to focus on best use of your time to grow your business. When people ask you a question, your answer has to always be the same thing. What is your solution? And if they don't have a solution, you say, you know what, think that over and get to me at noon today. I want to see what you come up with. Because if you ask somebody for their solution, they might not come back, and you want them to come back. So what you say is, what is your solution? And if they don't have one, great, then why don't you think about this, get to me at noon today, because I want to hear what you come up with. You might agree with it, you might disagree with it, but you're making them think. Number 2, maintain your own inspiration. What inspires you? What makes you passionate? I meet a lot of owners and managers that are tired. They're just tired. What's going to inspire you to make some changes? And is this the year that you really do embrace change? And even if it's not broken, do you make it better? I think sometimes things are working, but they could work better if you made some changes. Number 3, you've got to be predictable and consistent. Your people can't wonder what version of you is arriving at work that day. You can't walk in one day and go, "Good morning, everybody, how are you?" and the next day walk to your private office. You've ruined everybody's day in the first 30 seconds you're at work. Reset the financial thermostats of your team for their own reasons. If somebody's making 50 grand and they're happy and their bills are at 50 grand, they need to buy a car, buy a house, get them in debt. And all of a sudden their financial thermostats go up. Are they saving for college for their kids? What is it that'll motivate them to want to earn more? And then automate systems. You can't depend on your team to do all the follow-up. You just can't. You've got to use autoresponders. You've got to use automated systems that help touch your entire candidate base and your entire client base. And the other thing, too, is the owner. Your clients need to know you. You don't want a recruiter leaving and the relationship is with your recruiter. You have got to be out there. They have got to know who you are. Their loyalty has to be to your company, not to your recruiter. Because if it's to your recruiter, when that producer walks out the door, there goes the client right along with them. And you can't afford to have that happen. I've seen that happen too many times where owners get killed because a top producer walked out the door and took half of the business with them, even with a non-compete. Now, timing is everything. The key for unlocking your team's potential is in the next 12 months. You've got to do the right thing in the right order at the right time. Now, I think the right thing is to let us handle training for you. Take that off your desk. That is not best use of most owners' times. I think the right order is a self-paced curriculum, and that's what I've developed. And the right time, there's no better time than now. Benefit by what I've learned over the past 25 years. I say 25 because 30 sounds like way too many years. It's actually over 30 years. I just don't want to admit it. But you can benefit by what I learned. You can benefit that I go to 20 conferences a year because I keep learning. You're never going to catch me. It was funny when I first made my tutor, my team went, "Oh my God, you're teaching everybody our secrets." And I go, "Well, we keep learning, so they'll never catch us." And that's how I always feel. I will always keep learning, and everything I learn, I will share with you, I promise you. If you want to unlock your team's potential to increase profits, either call that number or you can go to this URL and request a demo form. A member of my team basically guides you through the preview, and then, they'll ask you what your challenges are and show you exactly, how our training can be customized around what it is that you need. I want to put something else on the table. I know you're no different than I am. I always want a deal if I'm going to do anything, especially if I'm going to do something now because I'm always busy, and you just spent time with me. You've just spent almost 45 minutes of your time, and I thank you for that because everybody that was on the line, I think we lost 2 people. So thank you for staying here for the whole call. But in order to get you to do something by the end of the day today, I know I have to offer something. So anybody that invests in my top producer by January 30th, what you're looking at now is my strategic management tutor. I had managers come back to me and say, we love that you train our team. How about training me? How about training our managers? So I developed a strategic management tutor. It's a 26-week tutor. There's the topics in front of you. You will get this free. And if you call by 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I don't know what that is, Eastern Standard Time today, I sounded like Bugs Bunny there for a minute. If you call today by 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to schedule a demo, you will receive 5 free seat licenses. See, once you own my tutor, it'll cost you $50 to train a new person for as long as they work for you. They will have all the training, they will have the weekly calls, the coaching calls, access to everything for $50 once you own our tutor. So I really do encourage all of you to call, by 6 o'clock tonight, because if you call by 6 o'clock tonight Eastern Standard, you'll get those 5 free seats. And if you invest by the end of the month, you will get this strategic management tutor free. And the number to call is on the bottom of your screen. Now I want to open the lines for your questions, and I promised you I would not take more than an hour. We're at 42 minutes, and so I do see some hands up. You can ask me questions one of 2 ways. You can either go to the attendee list and click on the hand. I can unmute your lines, and you can ask me questions, or you can just click on the question area below in the gray area, and I can look for your questions. So let me go down. I see some people have gone with questions. Hold on one second. Let me get to the questions. Okay. Let's see. Who does Barb's automating? Is it something we can hire? No, I actually had this custom made, and it was, and to be honest with you, it was amazing how much it cost to get this done. There's some LMS systems out there that you can use, Jane, but they start at $500,000. It's ridiculous. I'm asked, when will this recording be available? It will be available, and we're going to send out this recording to everybody that registered for this call. So we will definitely get this out. How much of my time will this take? This is from Steve. Steve, this will take none of your time, or we have a manager's guide, and so if you want to work with your people, there's a manager's guide telling you what to ask, what to look for. It'll never take more than 10 minutes of your time. Do I need to take the top producer before I give it to my team? No. You do not need to do that. Will your training be appropriate for temporary staffing firms? That was from Beverly. Yes. In fact, we have a temp and contract tutor and the top producer tutor. You get both. You take the top producer tutor and you take the additional 16-week temp and contract tutor that is included. If we can't make one of the live weekly calls, are they recorded? All our calls are recorded and they're all put in the library, Amanda. This is from Jaden. What is the difference between training and coaching calls? Training calls are I do a topic and then I do 30 minutes of question and answer after. Coaching, every other week I get on the phone and go, hi, it's Barb Bruno. What questions do you have for me? This is from Bill. Is there any owner-manager training in the tutor? Yes. The first call of every month is owner-manager. The second coaching call of every month is owner-manager because they've asked for that. This is from Sarah. How many interviews per week for a blended desk, temp and perm, to get one send out? That depends on the person, Sarah. There is no set, there is no set interviews per week. It depends on the capability of the people that work for you. And we can show you how to get to that. We can show you how to track stats and ratios where you can figure out. Because for each person that works for you, it could be different. It could be different for every person based on their experience level. Does the tutor train in IT? We do not, but I can tell you that I developed the certification program for TechServe Alliance. TechServe Alliance is the IT and Engineering National Association that does contract and direct placement. And when they wanted someone to write their training program, their study guide, they hired me. So I wrote the study guide of best practices for sales and recruiting for TechServe Alliance and helped them develop their certification program for IT and engineering. So do I know that niche very well, yes, but the tutor doesn't get into specific niche areas. Now on the calls, of course you can ask me anything you want about your niche. So on the live calls I do, people ask me all the time. And that happens to be a niche I'm very familiar with because of my affiliation with TechServe Alliance. How do you pick weekly topics? This is from Kathy. I don't, you do. And so you pick the weekly training topics. You basically have a support line, and all those weekly calls I do come from each one of you. I have a couple people asking us about costs. If you would schedule the demo, call my office. It depends on how you're going to use the tutor, what the cost is. And so there's different pricing models, Lloyd, and it depends on how many people you're putting through it. So please call my office and ask for Jody, and she would be glad. It's much more reasonable than you're ever going to think it's going to be. Dottie, can I review the training? Yes. If you sign up for the demo, we give you 1 hour of access. And so we give you an hour of access where we give you a username, we give you a password, and you just click around. And just so all of you know, I mentioned that I'm familiar with IT and engineering. I also just wrote a program for a very large light industrial training franchise that wants to get into skilled trades, and I'm teaching them how to do it. I just wrote training for a network of direct placement firms, and their members want to get into contract staffing, and so I wrote a training program for them to show their members how to get into contract staffing. I just did training for someone on how to get engagement fees or retained searches. They're a contingency firm. So see, my knowledge is pretty broad just because I don't only, create training curriculum for myself. I train for LinkedIn Learning. I do training courses for other large organizations or the certification programs. And what's nice is, and I think it should put your mind at ease, these people are telling me, they're telling me that they want me to develop these programs. Okay, someone's saying the contact, our number is cut off. They can't see the phone number. Let me go back to the last screen real quick so you see the number. It's 219-663-9609. So 219-663-9609. Marty, thanks for telling me that the number was cut off. Uh-oh. I didn't know that, so good thing we've got it on there. So there's also, if you just want to request a demo rather than calling us, you can also copy down that URL, and there's a form you can fill out. Barb, thank you so much. This is enlightening. I know what I need to do. I'm calling your office right now. Well, thank you, Susan. We look forward to your phone call. The rest of this is all thank yous. And by the way, whether you get my training or not, I've given you some great tips today. When you get off this call, do something. Do something. Implement one of these ideas, call for a demo, do something to basically, change your results. Change your results. We want you to have your results changed. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, I see no more questions. I do appreciate all of you being on this call. You will get a recording of this call very shortly. We have to get the recording from our tech team. But again, if you call my office, ask for Jody. She is the person that schedules our demos, and she can answer all your questions. If she gets bogged down, I'm sure we'll have some other people that will answer questions, or you can ask for me as well. But Jody is the person that sets up our demos. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to hopefully welcoming some of you as our newest tutor clients. Thanks, everybody.